Good morning, everybody. I think we have a full house now, so I'm delighted to open this event. My name is Veronica Gaffey. I am Chair of the Regulatory Scrutiny Board, and it's a real honour for me to be asked to open this event because I am very much a consumer of your models, and I think the message I want to pass to you today is how important your work is and how it really should feed the process of policy making at a European level. So you're all very welcome at this event. You are more than 200 scientists, policymakers from the EU, national and international organisations, as well as from the private sector, who have travelled to Brussels to attend this event. Since March of this year, I've been chair of the Regulatory Scrutiny Board. I've worked for 23 years in the area of evaluation, first in Ireland, and then for 16 years in the Directorate General for Regional Policy. So I gained some experience of modelling there, but I think a lot of progress has been made since 2015, since I was last working with evaluation. I think the message of this event is that the Commission is committed to a culture of evidence-based policy making. Ursula von der Leyen, candidate for President of the European Commission, in her political guidelines for the next Commission, as well as in her mission letters for all the future commissioners, she made it very clear her commitment to a strengthened culture of evidence-based policy making, as well as to more transparency throughout the legislative process. Pia Arenkilde Hansen, former Deputy Secretary General, now Director General for Communications in the European Commission, earlier this year stated that evidence-based policy making is the future and the sharing of evidence should become the new normal. And I think the fact that Pia is now the Director General for Communication emphasises that link between evidence generation, but also communication of evidence and transparency in evidence. The role of modelling in support of the policy process is expected to increase in importance in the EU and in the Member States over the future Commission. This entails big challenges: transparency, coherence, quality, but also a sense of realism and responsibility. We shouldn't oversell what our models produce. We should be clear about what are the strengths and weaknesses of the evidence that we produce. Realism, responsibility must be at the core of all modelling activities and of the communication of modelling results. And I would really make a plea to you to reflect on how to communicate modelling results for policymakers and indeed for the broader public, the non-technical audience. How can we communicate the results of models for an audience that maybe is not as technically expert as you are?
Hello everybody, I am Arnaldo Caivano, I work for JRC in a department in charge of economics of agriculture. I am a data scientist and I lead a team of data analysis that supports other teams of economic modelers. I prepared this presentation with the leaders of two of these teams. Economic modeling is the core business in our department. It started with a KISS. KISS stands for Keep It Simple and Short. And we will talk about making complex modeling accessible, transparent, and understandable. So the context in which we move is this one. So basically, we are the scientific service of the European Commission, and we support our colleagues, policymakers. And we normally have some policy options to evaluate, and we employ them into a model in terms of scenarios. And then the results of the models are used to produce an analysis of policy or an impact assessment study, which is then used for evidence-based policy making. That, just to close the loop, it would result probably in the election of one of the options at stake. So The result, the scientific report, we have two issues with it. It must be effectively used in the policy making, but also we have to consider that it most of the time becomes a public good. So we have issues there of knowledge management, indeed. So we have to make sure that the scientific results are available and traceable, meaning that if somebody is looking for something that is addressed by the study, it should be possible to look it up. We have also to try to synthesize the results, because the jargon used in the reports is normally a scientific one, and we have to address different categories of stakeholders that range from policy makers to politicians, newspaper, social media, and whatever citizen that for a reason or the other is interested on the results of the scientific study. On the other hand, we have also the issue of the data. I mean, we, as a European Commission, for the sake of the open data policies that we employ, we must make public the data that is behind the studies, behind the modeling exercises. But data can be huge, complex, it can drive to mistakes of interpretation. So we have also the issue of transferring the knowledge about how to use the data. How do we do it? We have in our department, we try to do it with our portal DataM. DataM stands for Data Portal of Agroeconomic Modeling. You have the link there, datam.jrc Europa EU. If you want, you can try to connect to it. We have also at page 19 of the book with the abstracts. What is the objective of our website? It's strategically is to improve the access to our scientific production. And this is translated into 4 operational objectives. So to have availability of our results through internet, transparency, I mean, delivering the data, disseminating it into a universal format. Then we employ business analytics in order to transfer the knowledge about how to use effectively the data, and we also use infographics in order to try to adapt the language to the different categories of stakeholders. So what we do, basically, we move from what we have on the left, the past, the scientific report based on a model and its data, to an additional complementary web content that gives the access and the capacity to use the data, which is linked within the appendix of our reports. So I give you some example about how to access the data. The first one is the download of the raw data sets that are behind the models. It's a small video, just you can go there, you click, you obtain a zip file. Within that, there is a CSV file. You can open it with Excel, for example. You have some complementary information about how to use the data. Or, in alternative, we have a query tool that allows to select maybe the only part of data, which can be very big otherwise, that is of our interest. So some countries on commodity, maybe we can choose some indicator, and then we show it on the screen. We can navigate on the data. And then eventually we can download it, and we would obtain again a CSV file, but in this case, smaller. As I told you before, of course, this is only raw data, and this is nothing if you don't have the knowledge about how to use it. So how do we do to transfer this knowledge? Let's do a step back. What happens in our department is that from some years, we are combining the work of the economic modelers with the work of the data scientists that create the analytic app that is combined to the model. The analytic app is something that allows to interactively analyze data, and it combines the data outcoming from the model with the logic about how to use this data. And it is used for 4 purposes. First of all, from the modelers in order to analyze the results and maybe to correct, to improve the model. Then we use it to efficiently show the data and exchange it with our colleagues, policies maker. Then we extract maybe also the static charts, table, or maps that we embed in the report. And in bold, we use it as the engine that is behind our web contents. We have here the first video, very simple. It's about our infographics. that we use in order to give a top-down presentation of the scientific results. The purpose is that every user of our website can go as deep as he needs or she needs. For example, you see, you can have an overview of the models that are employed, and then maybe you can click to have more details about the scenarios, the conclusion, and so on. The most important part of DataM, of our business analytics technique, let's say, is the fact to give the possibility to the users of our websites to see the data that they want to see, and not only the static tables or charts that they find in the report. There is a small story here. This is a report about free trade agreements. So there is some, in the picture you see two charts that are about future scenarios of imports and exports by region for all the commodities, or by commodity for all the regions. So somebody called by telephone one of the authors of the report and asked him, oh, okay, I would like to see the same chart of by commodity, but not for all the regions, but for my country, Turkey. Can I have the data of the model? And the author say, okay, I can give you the data, but it will be difficult to use, but maybe you can go on DataM, and there you have the chart that is online with the breakdown by region. If you select Turkey over there, the chart on the bottom by commodity will be only for Turkey. And of course, you can do a selection of different regions, different commodities, and so on and so forth. So the change of perspective is this one, the way to give the possibility to analyze the data on your own. Last video, very quick. This is the last arrived in DataM. It's not only digging in the data of a model, but to give a practical application to use the results of a scientific study. We produce social accounting matrices in our department. We have all 28 for the EU member states. We have Kenya, Senegal, also Ethiopia is going to appear. And the social accounting matrix is that object on the bottom left, a lot of rows, columns, and numbers. We created a practical application, which is the job calculator. The job calculator allows you to simulate on your own what would happen if there is a change of exports or demand, if you want, of a commodity. What will be the impact on the employment of the given country? You can, of course, play with the mouse and to just change this percentage. You will see on the right also where these jobs, in which sectors these jobs will be necessary. And you can do a lot of other things. I really invite you to go to DataM and try it because there are much more functionalities that I cannot make fitting in this time. Last slides, really an overview of DataM. On the left, you see that we use it for disseminating data. There is also a standard presentation of all the metadata that is associated to our contents. You have the newsletter to inform users about new contents and upgrade of data and so on. You have the search function, API to connect with other systems. You can use it on mobiles with the limitation of the small screen. It is also for traceability connected to the major EU and European open data portals so that people can find our contents there. At technical level, we have an Oracle database, a data warehouse layer, which is a data management tool implemented in the same web application. So who has the account of Data Manager can go there and define and describe data. As business analytics, we use ClickSense, which is one of the top leaders in this sector, together with Tableau and Microsoft Power BI, and it's the most used in the Commission. Last slide, this is, the size of the DataM. We have just celebrated 1,000 days of history, and the usage is increasing, and the number of tools and studies that are integrated as well. That's it with
Okay.
I mentioned to my colleagues developing it.
Thank you very much for this very interesting presentation about transparency somehow. Yeah. So if you have any question. Yes? Oh, ladies first. Let's go.
Thank you for the presentation. I have a couple of questions on. One question is about how do you ensure that this kind of visualization will last for long? Because I think one issue I've seen in my experience is obsolescence of the platform works now, but in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, changing browser, changing operating systems, things start being clunky and not working very well. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on this. And the other thing I wanted to ask is, which kind do you give any kind of also information to people on how to interpret the results they get? When they play with the data, they will find things changing. And then how do you guide people to make sense of these changes and get value out of these interactions?
Thank you for the question. Sorry. Thank you for the question. The site is up and running from 3 years, and we have employed recently this ClickSense technology, thinking that this will be always maintained. So we are really relying on an important company for this. And it was not the case on the past, because we were employing another technology that actually disappeared from the market. So that's how we are moving. But of course, we cannot know how it will evolve in the future. About interpretation of the data, we care always, you see on the top, to integrate the methodology with every one of our web contents. So it's always possible to go there and to, I think also in the video of, of the job calculator, you see you have an eye icon on the top right, and if you go there, you click, you have a lot of caution that are especially necessary for this specific calculator, which is a beautiful toy, but needs a lot of caution in its use. Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, I also really like the platform. My question goes in a similar direction, but less from a technical perspective, the continuity. But now you have chosen a strong partner to provide the platform. So there are economic or cost implications, and you basically need a budget that has to be put in for a long time. So there needs to be a consideration within the organizational structure to also create foundation for such a platform. How are you dealing with that?
So for purchasing this platform, we spent 150,000 euro. Commission choose to use this platform, and there was a commercial agreement. The maintenance per year is around 25,000. There is a lot of attention in JRC for issues of knowledge management, and so we need to invest something there. I mean.
Okay. Time for last question, Jan.
Actually, a comment rather than a question. The powerful visualization, as we saw, is also an important tool in connecting models, connecting model teams. I've seen that operating very productively in the collaboration around the first big OECD environmental outlook that I co-managed. And it was so useful for two teams to quiz each other's data, understand the contradictions, and then build a nuanced and subtle but well-founded story that they both understand. In fact, the demand for the data visualization from the policy side was very limited and only came through specialized organizations. But between the teams, that's where this was very useful.
Also, that I am one of the main purposes is not only the dissemination public, but the cooperation among modeling teams. We have many cases. If you can go on the site and see some of our contents, you have a Food Secure, you have AgMIP, AgClim, you have many cases of collaborative work among groups of modelers scattered on different institutions or research centers. And we have now a new project, BioMonitor, that should use the platform also to share the data, because I show at a certain point that there is the possibility to have an account for uploading data in DataM, and that could be also for external colleagues, not in the Commission. And we are in some project, also in Suprema. I don't know if some of you is involved in that. We are been thinking to use this platform as a media to exchange also reference data.
So thank you very much, Arnaldo.